Hello, my name is Igor DEGTYAREV, and I am a senior graphics and R&D software engineer at Targem Games. Targem Games is a medium-sized game development company from Russia. We are located in Yekaterinburg, the scientific, cultural, and industrial center of the Urals region. We have more than 10 years history of making different kind of games for a number of platforms. Our recent largest project is Star Conflict, a free-to-play MMO shooter in the space. Its open beta test started in 2012 and finished with the release of the game in that September. The core game mechanics of that project, flying a spaceship, is very suitable for stereoscopic technology and virtual reality. So when we've got development kit 1 or DK1, Star Conflict was the first game in the list decided to be adapted to this technology. So in March of that year, we shipped first version of DK1 support, and after a while, in that September, we added DK2 support as well. In spite of small amount of available devices, especially in Russia, we've received a lot of positive feedbacks from our customers about our great implementation of Oculus Rift support. So this inspired us to this speech. And the future is here. You know, it seems that a couple years ago, it was absolutely unbelievable. A helmet with such great specifications and such deep impressions as we've got on DK2 was on the edge of our imagination. However, Oculus VR is a pretty young company, but it already has several released products. And here you can see some of its products with some general characteristics. The customer's version expected in 2015, but actually, who knows? Nevertheless, policy of full disclosure forms a huge community around Oculus. And a great part of that community are developers. So a lot of different games and applications can be found in the internet. But honestly, it is hard to find high-quality products among them. And I'm not talking about quality of game design or game assets. It's assumed that all of that products are indie game, most of them. But I'm talking about negative Oculus Rift experience with them. The problems such as difficult device setup, low performance and high latency, unusable user interface have a great influence to overall player experience. But most of such problems are software related, and we, the developers, can reduce or even avoid most of them. In our project, we've solved most of such problems in the way that we are quite proud of. And we would like to see them solved in the same or similar way in other products. So I want to share with you some of our solutions. And I want to start out with the description of some issues that I encountered during porting the game. These are primary game design issues. A complicated game mechanics and swift dogfights, these are distinguished features of our game. But in the meantime, these features become a blocking factor for comfortable experience in virtual reality. Flying a spaceship with Oculus Rift gives you a great feeling. However, players in that situations can't effectively complete all tasks given in the game. Differences in the control and environment perceptions can influence player effectiveness. And it seems for me that these problems wouldn't be solved and couldn't be solved. However, in the same time, our team was preparing a vast expansion for the game called Invasion Mode. And the base principle of this mode was to move game focus from swift dogfights to moderately paced exploration. So players wouldn't be under pressure of round timeout or stresses from dying. It became do-what-you-want gameplay style. So this mode has become ideal for Oculus Rift. However, it doesn't mean that you can play in other modes, but this one is the best for the first virtual reality experience. So even if it seems that some game mechanics would be suitable for virtual reality, in the context of the whole game, it can be untrue. So you should be prepared for that. Okay, of course, we have some other design-related problems, and I listed here some of them. But I want to cover more detail some issues with the interface. Because interface design for virtual reality should have quite different approach as we used to have on monitors. And the ideal solution, a game without any interface at all, are those that naturally integrated in-game environment. But actually, we have this one. This picture can say a lot about complexity of our interface. So we have MMO game with huge amount of different abilities, and more than 2 years of development lead us to very sophisticated game interface. And the problem was how to fit all of that to DK1 with relatively low resolution and vast image warping by barrel distortion. How to combine text readability and interface complexity. So we found a solution that based on some simple techniques. The first one, an appropriate projection surface. To fit all of this stuff to just one surface and preserve text readability, that surface should be really huge. But since we can rotate ahead, it wouldn't be a problem. The only question was how to persist text readability for all view directions. And I've spent a lot of time trying to find the ideal solution. Here depicted some of methods that were denied it. All of them have their own disadvantages that I couldn't admit. For example, here in the center is a plane that is shifting its position in space when we're rotating ahead. You know, this is the worst method. Never do like this. Do not change any object position with head rotation, because it becomes very frustrating factor. You can't associate this object with the world anymore. And it has big impact to comfortable experience. And the most appropriate surface become a cylinder. It has equal distances to the eyes in horizontal area and behave like a plane in vertical. So it is known that head rotation in horizontal area is most suitable for human. Plus, we can tightly fit letterbox format in this spatial structure. So it meets all of our needs and it naturally perceived in 3D environment. This was the best choice for us. And you should try this approach as a starting point. Okay, another simple technique of our solution was an interface size user options. These parameters allow to increase projection surface size to tweak text readability for different devices, quality options, or even sharpness of player eyes. So you can easily adjust readability, comfortability, and head rotation ability to any level that you want. But the most valuable techniques is so-called supersampling method. And I'll describe this in following section. So now let me move to some technical aspects. Of course, most parts of what I will say can be applied only to your own engine, or at least to your own Oculus Rift support implementation. However, it doesn't deny the fact that the proper implementation has a great influence to comfortable experience and overall impression. And even if some of this aspect weren't solved in some engine in the right way, I think that we have to concentrate your attention to that issues and with some possible solutions. The Oculus company has given a good recipe for maximizing impression level from virtual reality, or how they call it, the presence. That is a wild field of view, low persistent technology, high screen resolution, stable and native frame rate, and low latency handling of HF movements. And the most important aspect, that when you overcome all of these factors together, you will get a synergy effect with maximum level of presence and with minimal motion thickness. First two of that list are hardware-only problems, so we admit that Oculus will solve this in the best way they can. But the remaining problems can be successfully solved with software. Let's see how developers can improve situation. The first problem that everyone is complaining about is low resolution. And that is even for DK2. However, everyone can imply a different thing there. The obvious one is a real resolution of device. That indeed is not so great. Here we have so-called screen door effect, when we're able to recognize black-green pattern of the screen on bright images. Visibility of the screen of this grid become more important than actual display resolution. And that is a sad thing, and we can overcome it. But actually, most people will be complaining about big pixels, source of which is a low rendering resolution. Here, we can see the result of barrel distortion. That is a necessary image transformation step before rendering to display, because we have to compensate curvature of lenses, of device lenses. And as you can see here, the resolution in the center of screen become lower than on base image. This will happen if we render to the same resolution as on device. So, to get maximum detalization level, we should increase rendering resolution. To what extent? For ideal matching, it should be around factor of 1.5. But it depends on form of lenses and can be changed for future devices. But if we increase this factor further, we will improve image quality even more. And that is a supersampling effect. And this effect can significantly improve text readability even on DK1. So, we don't tie it to device resolution anymore, and we can easily adjust it. Here, you can see the result of different resolution ratios after the barrel distortion phase. Here we have 1, 1.5, and 2. The first one, as you can see, represents the situation when rendering resolution is the same as on device. And that is behavior of most of existing games and applications. But as you can see here on the right, the result can be significantly better. The last one represents highest quality, but in the same time, it costs so much in terms of computations that lead us to following problem, the problem of low performance. And that is a most important aspect of comfortable experience in virtual reality. You must have a stable and native frame rate. By native, I mean the one that is intended for certain device. That is 60 Hz for development kit 1, 75 for DK2, and even more for future devices. And it becomes significantly stricter that we used to have on monitors. If you don't reach the values, nothing else will be matter. You will create motion thickness, and it will be unplayable at all. Moreover, with this high frame rate, we will have to draw all stand twice and be able to do this on different and various PC configuration. So that is a complicated problem in general. But I want to talk about different optimization techniques. Of course, all kinds of optimization are good and should be done on maximum level in any high-quality products. But it's almost pointless because of various PC configurations. So how I've solved all of that problem? I've introduced a balance factor between performance and resolution. Let's see. From one side, do barrel distortion. We don't tie it to device resolution anymore. So we can easily change rendering resolution, and not only to high level, but to lower level as well, and moreover, that resolution has significant influence to overall performance. And from another side, we have to persist necessary frame rate. So we can combine these factors, these things to one factor. Therefore, in our game, we have only one slider that intended for adjusting a balance between image quality and game performance. Ideally, it should be adjusted automatically based on current system performance, but we have a manual control so far. Once more time, because that is an important aspect. You must have a native frame rate and be able to sacrifice image quality for that frame rate in wide ranges, because you can't rely on players' computer performance. And from a player side, the actual device or game resolution shouldn't matter. What matters is to have a comfortable experience without any headache. And these parameters are intended for that. Okay, another thing that allowed to increase enjoyment is simplicity of Rift mode switching back and forth without any additional steps. On most applications for Oculus, you have to properly set up primary monitors, start game with special parameters, or even manually change some configs. Who have tried some Oculus demo knows what I'm talking about. In our game, we simplify all of this stuff to just one step. You have to press a key, and you jump in. Moreover, you can do this in any moment in the game. Without any restarts or setups, you can drive into a virtual reality and back whenever you want. That is a very cool feature, especially for games that are not intended just for Oculus Rift. It allows to choose comfortable session length on your own. And finally, another useful detail. It should be easy to reset head orientation, because it is really painful if you have to navigate menus or even restart a game to do this. The proper way is to bind this functionality to a special key on keyboard or gamepad. And we've done exactly in that way. Okay, at the end of my speech, I want to say the following. Whenever you create a new game or port on an existing one, it is necessary to remember that your consciousness will always fool you and will pretend that everything is great. But after a while, you will feel some sick. That is your subconsciousness telling you that something is wrong. Perhaps that is a low frame rate or high latency of movements, or you even mix it up left and right eyes. You know, I have exactly the same problem, though I was thinking that everything was great. So you can't rely just on your own feeling. Show your Oculus Rift implementation to other people and gather some feedback from them. But do not rely on that feedback too much, because it will be hard for them to explain what is going wrong. The best way is to watch some proper implementation and compare your feeling with them. Our game can be a good choice for that. So, do not believe yourself, do not believe others, but try to hear your intuition. Take a good example and be prepared for the future. Because, you know, I'm sure that Oculus and virtual reality will have a great impact to the game and entertainment industry for the next 5 years. So we should be prepared for that and find proper techniques and solutions. And I will be glad if every virtual reality products bring only positive and comfortable experience for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Igor. So do you guys have a question for Igor about Oculus? I have one for you. From everything you presented, what was the strongest challenge in taking this kind of demo kind of thing into the actual game? Technical or like a UI?
You know, of course, primary issue that I encountered with, that is technical problems, because you don't know the proper steps that you have to done to get a proper result. And if you can see them, you can't rely to anything that you have see before or compare with what, if you don't have proper examples. And I think that was most problem. I think we were the first who have such, game, the whole game.
Yeah, fully ported. I know there's very little guy out there who actually have pushed it to that extent. And so in a very, very specific way, from all of those, I mean, you talked about the pixel issue and stuff.
Yeah, that is very specific things, but this allowed to increase overall enjoyment from not only from real games, but from demos too. And lack of that proper implementation is the issues, I think.
Okay, very well. Anyone else has a question for Igor? Over there. One moment, just for the camera.
Hi, is it working? Okay. How much did the implementation take? How much?
You know, it wasn't it haven't done in just one step. I think it take about 2 weeks to get a first implementation. We have our own engine, you know. We don't use some ready engines. So I think after 1 week we have some great new demo. But actually, after a while, we realized that everything is it's not so great, and we have to redo this in another way. And this situation was repeated again and again. And you know, the total amount of time that I spent there, I can't even imagine. Not just because that is a huge, because it was spread around this year.
Yeah, and was it financially successful to spend that much time implementing?
You know,
How's the market?
in current moment, of course, we have not so much of available devices. I think it's around 100,000 overall in the world. Yeah, and we can rely on these customers as our primary customers. I think that is invention for the future, primarily. Because as we expect, in following 2 years, it will be explosion of availability of that devices in the world.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I have a last question. What have you tried and experimented with those phone-based VR? So you know,
No.
Google came up with this.
Yeah, you know,
this-
we are a PC development company, and we not have a chance to have any products for them. So I can compare these feelings.
Because this might come earlier than the Oculus. You know, there's
Yeah.
already like anyway. Okay. Any other questions? All right. So please help me. Thanks, Igor, for his great presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.